Say one man can make a difference. Let's find out.
Our turrets! Open fire!
I think they're gonna bomb London. Arm up. Follow me.
You let one soldier defeat an entire patrol.
This ends now.
Michael, Jeff in Las Vegas. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon to you, and I like your background very much.
Oh man, thank you. Thank you so much. It is just for you. And I am telling you, what a spectacular World War II action film. I just finished watching Memorial Day Marathon on Turner Classic Movies. I'm a history buff, I'm a movie buff, World War II. And I have to say, you just turned in a spectacular action film. So congratulations.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that, and even just being mentioned in the same breath as all those classic movies, I really appreciate that very much.
Well, your movie is based on a true story, one I have never heard of. So tell us the story behind the code name Wolfhound.
Well, that is a story that I had never heard of either. And when my writing partner, Tim Ritchie, and I were looking, we knew that we had the resources to make this film from the museum and World War II and aviation communities. We didn't want to tell a totally fictitious story, but we also, we knew that we didn't have the resources to do a grand, Patton or Saving Private Ryan or The Longest Day that covers something so huge. But we were looking for a kernel or a great, truthful story to jump off from, and then write some historical fiction like the what if this actually happened. And we came across the story of KG-200, which was an actual Luftwaffe Special Forces squadron. And it's really fascinating because they're not all over the history books. They're only mentioned certain places. And it's almost like there were legends from some pilots and some people in the Army Air Corps back then. And there's some, verified information, such as one of their missions was to capture, force down, repair, and fly Allied aircraft back into battle, or they tried to. And the very first B-17 Flying Fortress that was, outed, and they realized these are Nazi pilots flying. The U.S. Army Air Corps nicknamed that plane the Wolfhound B-17. And so that's where the title comes from. That's where the story comes from. It's based on that. And our movie is definitely mostly historical fiction, but it's based on something they really were trying to do, as well as the Wunderwaffe weapon that they were absolutely trying to make. Thank God our side got to it first. And again, it was like, what if it got that close to actually happening? And we thought that would be a hell of a movie.
And James Maslow, one of your stars of the film, he has a personal connection. His grandfather flew B-17s in World War II. I thought that was incredible. And you also had an emotional experience when you first stepped on board a B-17 for the first time too, as well.
I did. It was 2013, and I was directing a commercial for the Yankee Air Museum in Michigan. And for, scouting, I was just checking out the plane and the hangar. And as soon as I stepped on, I got literally hit by a wall of emotion, because I just realized, the real 18, 19-year-old airmen and pilots, what they really did, back then, and how they really did fight, and many sacrificing their lives, for literally freedom itself in the world, against the greatest evil. And it was a very powerful experience, just looking around thinking, I'm standing where they were. And I thought, wow, I got to make this commercial really good. and then it translated to, wait, I think there's a movie here that we can make too. And with James, his grandfather flew B-17s in World War II. He was shot down twice, and he saved his entire crew each time, which is amazing. And the craziest thing, and we could not have planned this if we tried, he got the offer from our casting director on his grandfather's birthday. And it was like that, as soon as both his side and our team found that out, it's like, it's got to be him. James has to do this. This is too coincidental. And I gotta say, Yeah, and I couldn't imagine the passion, the hunger, the intensity he brought to it, the honesty he brought to it. I couldn't imagine anybody else playing the part for real.
The authenticity and detail had to be essential for this movie, especially considering the aircraft, but the uniforms, the ribbons and the patches. I mean, everything looked like it was just down to the very detail. And the aircraft are spectacular because, Dunkirk recently used real combat planes, but it wasn't about dogfighting. So they were just flying around. The challenges must have been enormous for this film because those were actual planes you were using. I mean, I was watching, I was holding my breath at times.
Really, that's great
Yes.
to hear. So I will say the challenge of doing it for real, just a wee bit of a challenge. And it's interesting you mentioned Dunkirk because Craig Hosking, who was their lead pilot and aerial coordinator on Dunkirk and a bunch of Nolan's movies, and he also flew for Pearl Harbor for Micahel Bay. He was our aerial coordinator and lead pilot. There is no way we would have been able to pull this off without him. And I'm still kind of pinching myself that he said yes to me, cold calling him up saying, hey, would you do this crazy stuff with me? And actually, try to do a World War II, aerial action movie for real. And he was like, let's do it. Like he loved the idea. And the Military Aviation Museum down in Virginia Beach, they supplied the B-25, the Spitfire, the Hurricane, both P-51D Mustangs, the ME-109, which is actually one of 3 still flying in the world that were German built in a German factory. The other 9 were built in Spain. So, I just, that still blows my mind that that's in our film.
Oh, yeah.
And we treated them like gold. We were very careful. If Craig ever said, I don't know, we shouldn't do that, with this aircraft, I said, okay, what can we do? You tell me. And, the museums, the pilots, the army of mechanics that kept it going. Because I'll tell you a little secret. Every plane broke down at least once during filming. And every time it happened, it was like oh crap, is the movie over or can we keep going? And the authenticity that the aircraft brought, plus the emotion, the drama, the excitement of doing it for real. I just don't think you can get that with CG and special effects. And there's a lot of CG in the movie. The tracer fire, some of the model destruction shots. We shot scale models to begin with, and then enhanced them with CG so that the artists had real physics to work with and real pyro, like the old Star Wars movies, blowing up models. But we really did commit to having not a single fully CG plane in the film, and I'm very proud of that.
Oh, it shows. Yeah, it shows definitely. And I love how you use, this is a compliment, how you use kind of like 1960s World War II action sequences, like where Eagles Dare and stuff. So when the Nazis would blow up and they would turn around and fly and be like catapulted. And it just gave it that Hollywood kind of action to it. I didn't want realism because this was kind of like a fantasy, just kind of like a propaganda of American film. So I like how you didn't make it graphic. It was a fun, if that's the right word. It was just a great kind of a neutral action film, which I liked.
I really appreciate that. And yes, we have, I refer to it as flinging Nazis shots on ratchets and wires and trampolines and all that. I grew up loving 80s and 90s action movies. And those are my favorite directors, James Cameron, John Woo, Tony and Ridley Scott, Russell Mulcahy, John McTiernan, Sam Raimi. In Army of Darkness, there's some similar flinging deadite skeletons, as the Nazis. And I definitely was trying to go much more Indiana Jones than Saving Private Ryan. I wanted this to be a movie that, parents could watch with their kids, hopefully, and appreciate, the aerial sequences, the whole story. And so we definitely did want it to be hard hitting, but not overly graphic. And I actually was surprised. We were aiming for PG-13. We got an R because I think there were just a few sequences that were just a little harder than the MPA was comfortable with. But at the same time, I'm a Jewish man. My family, has strong Jewish roots here in Detroit. I wanted to portray the Nazis as Nazis. And so the movie had to pack, an emotional and powerful punch feel wise as well. So they actually said, like, you can get a PG-13 if you, trim some of the harder stuff and cut this out, cut that out. And it's like, no, I don't want to do that, because that would cut out some of the soul of the movie. And I wanted you to still have the weight of World War II.
Right. No
And so,
sugarcoating. Yeah, absolutely. And I have to ask you about that scene where the when they're attacking the base and the Nazi flag is on fire. Now, was that a computer effect, or did it look like a real flag that was burning? And if it was, that had to be one take. You didn't have a pile of flags to burn, right?
no, that was absolutely 100% real. There was no CG. We had one flag, and we actually had to promise. We had to ask two companies in Michigan. The first one said, "We're not printing a flag like that," and hung up on us.
Yeah.
And then the second company said, "Okay, we know it's for a movie. Promise it's going to be destroyed afterwards." And I said, "Oh, don't worry, it's going to be destroyed." So we had one take. We had 3 cameras on it. I was operating one of them, and it was like doused in either kerosene or gas right before we did it. And fun little story. So it did not drop the way it was supposed to. It lit on fire, and I wanted it to drop like all at once, like the banner at the end of the original Jurassic Park in
Right.
front of the T-Rex. And it was like, okay, and go, drop the flag. And the special effects coordinator pushes the button, and nothing happens. And we're like, hey, wait a minute, the flag's on fire. This is not good. So the assistant special effects coordinator ran up in the, the rafters, and he manually cut as fast as he could the ropes holding it up. So that's why one side falls and then the other side falls. And it actually wound up being more dramatic that way. But I'm very thankful we didn't burn down the hangar in the process.
It looked like the Hindenburg going up, I'll tell you. That was a
Well, thank you. That we were going for that. We just were going for, no screw ups on that. But that was a happy accident, I'll say, that worked out. Yeah.
And finally today, the Jewish character Friedman, who plays the flute in the movie, he plays When Johnny Comes Marching Home. Now, I thought that was a nod to Stalag 17, with William Holden, because that's what they sing at the end of the movie, when they find out who the German spy is. So I don't know if there was a hidden meaning just for using that song, or what was the backstory on that?
You actually nailed it. I mean, I grew up loving those movies. Yep, you got it.
Yes.
And I thought, Memphis Belle, had, so I think it was Oh Danny Boy in that movie. And kind of as an homage to that film, which I grew up on as well. And Stalag 17, that's why I did choose that. And I gotta say, that actor, Taylor Novak, and it was Friedman, the character.
Right.
He does some of the finest acting in the movie, in my opinion.
Absolutely.
And he had the task of really shouldering a lot of emotional weight in his scenes, and one of the nicest actors I've ever worked with, but also just the emotion that he was able to convey. I still tear up at some of those scenes.
Yeah, even though you're acting, it's hard not to put yourself in history's place when you're portraying those kind of roles and guys dressed up in Nazi uniforms. So I'm sure the reality hit him, and like everyone else. And yeah, because I have a half sheet, an original half sheet of Stalag 17. William Holden's my favorite actor. So right away, you couldn't have that song in a World War II film. It wasn't a nod to Stalag 17. So I'm glad to hear you did that. And also today, we just had the 7th anniversary of D-Day a couple days ago. So this is such a great timing, because I think that I'm a history buff, but you're going to get a whole new generation of kids and fans to see this movie and be interested in history and interested in the greatest generation. So I just want to say congratulations. You just did a great job. So thank you.
Thank you so much, man. I truly appreciate that. And if people are still watching Wolfhound, 30, 40, 50 years from now, along with all those other classics, I mean, I would be on cloud 9. So I really hope that audiences enjoy it, and also, feel that same power and emotion that you did. And you're the first person that picked up on the Stalag 17 connection. And it's not really an accident that the character's name is Holden, but James Maslow.
I heard
plays
that
either.
too. He said Holden a couple of times. I go, oh, come on, Michael. Really? I connected the dots. Don't worry.
Excellent.
Well, thanks so much and good luck with the film. And let's talk again soon.
Thank you so much, man. Absolutely.